What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to Work Knife Balance. We've got an Orion knife we're going to be looking at here. We went ahead and took a look at this one a while ago on an unboxing video as it came through with an SRM knife. But I'm going to dive into this one a little bit more and do a little bit more specs on this one and everything as we go through this. I've had it for a little bit now. Got to go ahead and pass it off later today in the pass around group since it's not mine. So I wanted to do one quick fast little video for y'all with it. But overall impressions on it, I did like the knife. I thought it was pretty cool. There are some really cool aesthetics to the knife that I like. Well, before we get started, please and thank you to everyone who has already subscribed to our channel. We very much appreciate the support. If you haven't, hit the subscribe button down below. You can also head over to Instagram and follow us at WorkKnifeBalance939. All right, back to the knife. Some of the aesthetics I really like to the knife is I genuinely do like the shape to the knife. I like the curvature to the knife because it fits really well. It has a really nice kind of reverse feel. It almost feels better in a reverse grip than it does in a forward grip. And that's something that you don't see often in knives, but I really like that. I like this. I don't know if it's brass or copper or if it's just some sort of anodized aluminum, but I like the color that they added to the back here in that gold color. I don't like that it says Orion Knives. Originally, I didn't really mind it, but then it kind of got to bothering me. So I wish it didn't say Orion Knives there. I wish it was just the gold and then you kept with their Maker's Mark logo right there. I thought that was cool. But yeah, I wish you would have taken that off. Other than that, it's a really good knife. Ergos are fantastic. They've got jimping for days up here. Really nice jimping. And it is... I usually want more, but it's deep enough that back here, even if you choke it up on it some, it's really nice. You don't have a choil to choke up on, but you don't really need it with the size of this knife. This is a fairly large knife, and it doesn't look so because it has the curve, but it is fairly large. So let's go ahead and do some measurements real quick while we dive into this. Tip to tail, we are looking at about 8.25 on the overall length. We're looking at about 3.75 on the blade length, and 3.5 on the cutting edge there. So it is a fairly large knife, but it doesn't feel that way because it's got a much thinner handle, a thinner blade shape, and it has that curvature which kind of takes some of the length away from it. So it's deceptively large because you don't feel that large when you're holding it. We'll go ahead and do some quick side-by-side comparisons. Got the Ontario Rat 1 up above, straight as an arrow, and it's looking about similar in length. So you can tell there it's going to be a larger knife, but Ontario Rat 2 down below is going to be smaller in size. But once again, looking at that, like, seeing the curvature, I mean, it looks like they kind of all blend together there because the curvature. And granted, my camera's at an angle a little bit, so it kind of messes with it some, but they kind of all start to blend. It's small, medium, large, baby bear, mama bear, papa bear as they go through there. So it does kind of mess with it as that curve does mess with the way you perceive this knife, or at least the way I have perceived it as I've been messing with it. Go ahead and throw out the Para 3 and the Para 2 up top for you, so you can do some side-by-side comparisons to those. If you watch the channel, you know those are the 4 knives that we use on our comparisons most frequently because they're very common, super awesome EDC knives that everyone should have, and if you don't, go get them because they're amazing. But it gives you a good idea of what you're going to be looking at when you see these knives, so you can see how they would fit in your hand based off of how these fit in your hand. So one thing I didn't like about this knife is I didn't like, so let me rephrase this. I liked that they used the real wood. I think that's kind of a traditional classic look to it and everything, and I really liked it. One thing I did not like is how much that wood stands up. I don't know if they were going for, hey, we're going to put the wood in here and it's going to give it kind of a contoured feel. It doesn't give it a contoured feel. It's definitely a block of wood sitting on metal. So I really would have loved to see that kind of nestled in there as like a line, not a liner, nestled in there as like an insert rather than something that is just strapped on the top as well. But I really do like this wood. It's something I wasn't familiar with. It's Amboya wood. That's what it was. Sorry, I had to look it up here real quick. But Amboya wood, and it's very, very soft. I don't know what an Amboya tree is or where they got this, but one, and this kind of goes with the Orion theme, I think, the whole way that you have the different colors and swirls and all these little knots and big knots and everything coming through. This to me is like a tannish brown tone to a space sky. You've got your aurora here coming through. You've got a deep galaxy in the back over here. You've got different planets and stars all through as you're looking at it. And that's my imagination, obviously, looking at it. But to go with the Orion knife, I think this fits really well, on top of the fact that it is a very smooth and soft feeling wood. It feels really good in hand. There is a little reverse flick there, hole for it, and I was messing with this the other day. You can't really use that reverse flick at all. It's just way too high, and it kind of rips your thumb off. But if you get a little lower on that fuller, no problem at all. So I'm glad they added the fuller. Initially, I was upset with it. Not upset, I didn't like it because I was trying to go out of that hole right there. But if you just drop to the fuller some, you can get out a lot easier on that. And I think it's because of the, I can see I even did it with my ring finger there on that side, but I think it's because of the curvature. I don't know, I'm not a physicist or anything like that, but I think it adds extra tension or strength, or it just, the angle to whip it out because of the curvature is a little bit harder the higher you get naturally on knives, but that just makes it even harder with that curve because you're coming around so much more than a normal knife where it'd be straight out the top. So yeah, 14C28N steel on this, so it's a really nice budget steel coming through as well. 60/60 aluminum on the show side and 420 stainless on the lock side. So I don't know why they split it up, but you got 60/60 aluminum on one side and then 420 stainless on this side. Maybe because the lock side, they want a little bit more strength, but to me, that was really weird. I just used the same thing all the way across. That would be really nice, please and thank you. I don't know why we have to have 7 different metals in a knife, but unless it's a Damascus, that makes sense. But yeah, let's go ahead and try and use all aluminum. That would have made it a little bit lighter. It is about 4 ounces. I did weigh it the other day. I don't have a scale here in front of me, but it's about 4 ounces, so that's pretty nice. All of the hardware is T8 for the pivot and then T6 for the body and clip. So the T8 is really nice on the pivot. You had enough space. You could have used T8 throughout the whole thing, and I would have really appreciated that. But T6 is kind of what everyone uses on bodies, so can't really knock them for that because that's what everyone else is doing. So yeah, these are designed and based in Oregon, so that's kind of cool. Pacific Northwest. I am not there now, but I am from the Pacific Northwest, so every time I see something like that, I always kind of like it. But yeah, other than that, I don't have much else to say about this knife. It does come in at about $75, so I did really, I was hoping that it would be sub 100 after I got to feel it and mess around with it and play around with it a little bit more. I was like, I like it, I don't love it, and if it comes in at like 115, 120, it's going to be a no-go for me. But 75, I could do that. I could see that as a pretty solid knife, especially if this is something that just screams out to you. The aesthetics on this knife aren't going to speak to everyone. They're not going to be something that everybody really likes. But if it does speak to you, $75 is a really good price for this knife. So I think it's actually a really solid price, a really good price point for what you get in the offering of this knife as well. So yeah, I don't have much else to say. It is a little bit of a shorter video, but I will go ahead and post links down below to this Orion knife. If you like it, feel free to follow that link. If it's an Amazon link, it does support our channel, and we greatly appreciate that support. Anything y'all can do to support us to continue to do this, we really, really appreciate that. So thank you to everybody who has followed some of those links, because I know some of you have. And then if it's not, feel free to follow it and know that it's not supporting us, and we don't care. I don't have any codes. Go ahead, check some of the other channels. I know they've got codes for some of these manufacturers. I'm just not large enough to do anything like that yet, so I don't have any codes or connections with any of these companies quite yet. The only one we got is through the We and Civivi, that you can follow those links, and that gets us a little bit of extra from there as well. So until next time, though, y'all have a fantastic day. Let me know what you're carrying down below, and TTFN.